Hey there, hope you're doing good. In this video, one of the engineers who used to work with me as part of my team advised a founder on what stack he should use for his mobile app and front end.
Probably then you can start recording for the context and the discussion.
I think it's already started recording. Did you hear something?
Yes, recording has started. I can see the message.
Okay, got it. I haven't done this before with Teams. So, yeah, again, myself, an engineer, started out as an iOS developer first. Worked as an iOS developer for a couple of years, and then was a bit more curious towards technology. So I went into web development, worked there for a couple of years, and now I'm kind of freelancing and caught up with Karthik again. So yeah, I'm a technology enthusiast. So yeah, that's my background.
Okay. Let me give a context of the uh, question or the deliberation, or where probably you can throw your inputs. Okay. So let me rephrase that same. Zopnote is a hyperlocal commerce platform. When I say platform, it has an ecosystem, right? There are apps like a merchant. Any small medium business or a business owner should be able to download a merchant app, set up his shop, define his location, define his customers, add his customers, give them a product and service in the neighborhood. We are not talking about Amazon. We are not a marketplace, right? So it should be very simple application app, which is the mode of distribution, because these people can afford a simple mobile. I'll give in certain words which are very specific to our needs, right?
Hmm.
He should be able to connect his customers online and sell his service. And we take care of his billing, ordering, even if people payment solutions, right? Whoever makes a payment, it all gets settled to his bank account, right? It's a
Hmm.
day-to-day life. Who are those? Probably a newspaper service provider, or a milk, or could be a Adobe guy who is in the neighborhood, could be a Kirana shop, could be a meat shop, who I send a text or I call him or I send an order as a shopping list, he will fulfill, right? Second side, we have customers who are little tech savvy. The first part, they are not, right? It needs to be as simple possible and very quick to give them an experience. Whereas a customer is very seasoned and he knows what to download, what not to, how quickly to operate. He knows how to make a payment, how to look at his payment history, who are my neighborhood merchant, who is reliable. He will quickly decide, connect and order and get service done, right? It's a one platform bringing both demand and the supply side onto one, right? And there could be other app ecosystem might come down the line, who is a delivery agent, who is a assistant manager. Doesn't matter, it all fits into the app ecosystem, right? Then to develop this, we would need a admin console to manage the operations. This is the third piece, right? Kind of, well, these are the three apps: merchant app, customer app, and admin console, right?
Who?
So this is,
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was wondering who is going to operate the admin console.
It will be a Zopnote account managers or the admin.
What would they be doing there?
Okay, let me give an example. I have given a merchant app which has a feature called upload all your customers by uploading an Excel sheet, or import from a contact list, right?
Hmm.
Probably he will do a import from a contact list. If I tell him you can upload a CSV, probably most of our merchants may not be able to do it. So those such functionality will be available on admin console on behalf of that merchant. Our account manager will collect that sheet and upload.
I
There
see.
could be scenarios, there is a issue with some order or something, right? He's not able to resolve it. We
Hmm.
should have an access to the same database, same flow, which is a very simple. It can be
Makes sense.
very raw, which admin
Makes sense.
can
Makes sense.
fix it,
Makes sense.
right? Okay. Now coming to how do we build it? How do we launch it? Requirement is like this. It's a
Yeah,
small team.
I
It's a very small startup team. We can't have iOS developers, Android developers. It's difficult. And we are at a
mhm,
stage we want to validate. In fact, we launched this product. Let me give two versions, which was built on a pure Android native.
mhm,
Okay, for a customer, we did not build an app. We told them you access through a web, mobile web only, no app,
mhm,
nothing.
mhm,
And everything was deployed on AWS with a DynamoDB, NoSQL, and
mhm.
Android with a Firebase.
Got it.
Firestore to DynamoDB was synced up using Lambda. This was our
Perfect.
initial MVP, which worked, which had a lot of limitations. And
Mhm,
we tested for 2 years and we learned a lot of things. Now we decided, okay, let's launch the version 2, which is scalable,
mhm,
where we said we need a merchant app, we need a consumer app.
mhm,
Merchant app is predominantly Android. Consumer,
mhm,
I need an app on both iOS and Android because nearly 30% of my customers are using iOS device, iPhones.
mhm.
And some people don't like to, they will access the mobile web. So that's how we started looking into Flutter. It's one of the decision we took, but leave it aside, right? Then we said that's how we got into this building the version 2 of it. Then we also realized, which we did not build admin console. It was operation heavy, but we decided we will have a maybe a purely a web interface. We may not need an admin app as such. People will connect over a desktop or a console. They should be able to manage. So this is how we kind of decided to build the version 2 of it, right? So now giving there are different choices, right? We made one choice, Flutter. I don't know whether it's good or bad, and don't want to compare a different tech stack. But I think probably this discussion could help. What would you suggest for our kind of a requirement and that kind of a discussion, right? Don't want to get into why any of the technology available, right? Not a comparison
Sure,
between advantage, disadvantage not required, right? Let me give
sure.
maybe a 1 minute to summarize before we get into a technology stack. Merchant app, we prefer to be available offline if possible, right? Because this customer may not have a luxury of internet connection. Sometimes they travel, they are in an apartment. Sometimes they don't want to have the data all the time. They might turn it off, right? But he should be able to
Mhm,
see, oh, what's my sales today? I mean, how many customers can I call him, right? Certain operation. There is an offline access is preferred on a merchant app and
mhm,
predominantly Android. And on the other side, customer, I think it's okay. I mean, they always are connected. Even if you build a functionality, works only with online connection, it's fine. But there's a two mix, right? And coming to a experience, I filled up that sheet which guides decision making, right? But it was
mhm,
little contradicting in some area because we don't need Apple one, some of those complexity, none of those are required, but the experience UX has to be really pretty good, right? I mean, the product is key here because these people are uh, financial literacy or fear of technology, trust deficit. They won't, it has to be that simple so that they start using the app, right? So experience has to be high.
mhm.
And mobile web is required for a customer.
So let's actually look at that sheet.
Okay.
Do you have it?
Yeah, I think I had shared it over email.
Yeah, I mean, I have it open with me. Can you
Okay.
open it? So it I'm looking at the first tab, merchant one.
Mm-hmm.
So you need a fast iteration, right?
Yeah,
Yes, and you need to support sub $100 smartphones as well,
correct. That's for
right?
the merchant,
And
yes.
you need to support both iPhone and Android.
For the merchant,
Hmm.
yes.
Yes, got it. And but you don't need to adopt new platform features like Apple Pay and stuff like that.
No,
But you
we don't
need
need.
the best UX. Like by that, what I think Karthik was trying to say was like the absolute best.
Mhm.
I mean, there is a difference between good and the best of the best, right? So, which do you need? That was the question. Do you need the
So
absolute best or
where do you put an app like Phone Pay?
phone pay? The UX is, I would say, good, not even better, right?
Okay,
It's
then it fits into a
very
good
confusing.
category.
Yeah, good. Then you don't need that. Yes, there. Do
Okay,
you mind changing it to no?
okay.
And the other S you have said is, are you building an app that integrates closely with the platform? From what I understand, it's mostly a e-commerce app, right? It's mostly
Mhm.
CRUD. You just create your marketplace, you read data from it, you update data to it, and delete some things, right? CRUD. It
Mhm.
doesn't need to integrate closely. So what Karthik meant by integrate closely with the platform in the sense, for example, if you take iOS, if you need
Mhm.
access to the iPhone's um, camera, right? Hardware, basically.
Mhm.
That means it's it closely integrates with the platform, right? Your app does stuff with the help
Mhm.
of the platform hardware. But from what I understand, SoapNote does not need to do that,
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
So now now yeah, so if you do that, what you need is basically a web app. It will web app which you can build in whatever technology you choose. So what technology you already told me that you started with Flutter, right?
Correct.
So what are your engineers' uh, strengths? Like what languages do they know or have
So,
worked with?
since we decided Flutter, we ended up hiring very junior engineers with a Flutter background. So
With Flutter.
they only know Flutter, little bit exposure to um I don't know, not much, little bit of a Python kind of exposure, not in depth, but little, very less. They don't even know Android native.
Makes sense. That's fine, but uh, looking at this, if you can build a web app from Flutter, web app that is, I mean, it can work on any screen basically, Android or iPhone or on
Hmm.
the browser. So you can build your front end on Flutter,
Okay.
right? The front end can be uh, built with Flutter,
Okay.
and for for the merchant app.
Hmm.
And also, if I look at the
Customer. Okay.
customer app, again, I don't think you need an app that integrates closely with the platform. And for a startup, you don't need the best of the best of the best. Like not something complicated and smooth like Google Sheets
Hmm.
or YouTube, right? It has to be good, right? Not MVP, not like basic. It
Understood.
has
I
to
think
be
I
good.
understood that. So when you say web app, right? Um it's accessible from a browser, right?
Also, yes.
Yeah. And what happens to the native experience? It's not there. You're saying not required. Is that correct?
Native experience. That's a tricky question. Uh, See, it will do everything you need for it to do on the web,
Okay.
on the mobile. It will shrink and it will show like basically as I mean, it will look as good as an app, as a native
Okay.
app.
Okay.
but it won't be able to access the camera hardware and stuff like that.
Understood.
Some-
Understood.
but otherwise
Okay.
you can create like with Flutter itself, you can create a
Mhm.
web app which would support all sorts of UI, right? Like it can look how with the tab bar it can look in iPhone, or you can like the hamburger menu on the Android, or like anything is possible.
Mhm.
You just need to set the viewports and basically it'll work on any screen. You can build UI on that. You don't have to worry about the UI at all. So
Okay.
basically, most of the front end could be done with Flutter
Okay.
or a web
Understood.
app.
Okay.
Now, since you handle payments and
Settlement
databases,
and yeah, and reports.
right, you might also need a backend.
Mhm.
And Firebase is good. It is also scalable, but there is a chance you might run into a limitation where you are trying to do something specific and Firebase doesn't support it, right? I hope you're understanding what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but if it is specific, it would help. For example, I'll tell you what all we would do. A
Mm-hmm.
merchant records, it's a very simple. It's not like millions. It will be few thousands max, right?
A
Customers,
thousand
maybe.
rows, right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
merchant records
yeah.
by
See,
you mean you'll
again,
have
maybe I'll give a so that it's very precise and the current context to decide the tech stack, right? Let's take it as the technology that we need today probably will run for another 1.5 year. Things will change. You might refactor or rebuild it, right? We need a technology now to quickly get the product in the market, validate our hypothesis. Oh, some control doesn't work, need to be better, otherwise people will stop using, right? None of them are valid. We need to validate our hypothesis. Okay, will they start using? Will they place an order from a customer? Will the merchant find it very easy to record all the orders? Is he able to collect payment? Right. That's what we need. Technology. We don't need for next 10 years, 5 years, maybe for next 1 to 2 years. That's one. Second, merchant records, customer records could as go as high as maybe 400,000 or 500,000. Okay, in the next 2 years. Then we have orders. Orders will have a link to the uh, image of the bill or anything. That's period. Nothing beyond that. Payments is very simple, which works even in a limited. It takes care of integrated with the PG and settlement using another API going back to the merchant account. And this is what we would be doing it more or less from an e-commerce concept, right? We are not going to support inventory of a 10,000 SKUs or a 20,000 or a 4 million products. No, we are not into that business at all. There are enough people built it. We are going to do a milk business. There are only 40 products. That's the limit. Somebody is selling a vegetable, maybe 40 products, nothing beyond that. So it's a very limited product. It's not going to scale. Right? This is what we need as a size or experience.
got it. Yes. So you are already using DynamoDB, right?
Yeah, we yes, that's what we use for the initial MVP. Correct.
Currently, what are you using? Firebase.
Okay, we made one decision. This might influence, or you can comment on it. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
for the initial development, right? Although we had the whole front end as a Flutter, back end as a DynamoDB, microservices, secured, scalable. Uh, kind of a Spring Boot kind of environment is what we thought is the ideal. But all this takes a lot of time to build the right API, looking at the right UI, which is changing a lot because we are validating in the field. Things change drastically. We took a call, disconnect the whole server side, just build all this merchant app, consumer app for simple order taking, processing, payment, we decided to build using Flutter with Firebase.
Mm-hmm.
With a, you can call it as a type. It's actually a Fire store kind
Sure.
of a instance we created because it provides offline everything. It takes care of updating. Not worried about the storage. It only matters the number of access that we do. So that was a conscious decision because it helped us to move faster. Your UI is changing. I'll make an addition to the document structure, add one field, record it, and it works right end to end. And we
Right.
built it in a way accessing data from the Firestore or writing back using a provider classes. It's a separate
Okay.
set of, which is like an API, right?
Mm-hmm.
At
Mm-hmm.
scale, when we hit a limitation, which we don't know today, probably you can comment, we will switch over to that microservices, whatever architecture with the actual API. The data will go to the, then we'll either use Lambda or something to sync up. So we park that. We are currently doing only this Flutter with Firebase to develop this app ecosystem.
Yeah. So I would actually do the same. Firebase
Okay.
is pretty good, and Firestore is good enough. So if you don't need a table with the fancy records like columns, then NoSQL is like not the best, but okay, right? It's good.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's what Firebase offers. Firebase is pretty good to start up and running.
Okay.
So my thoughts on that is, I think that's the right way to go
Okay.
right now. Right now,
Okay.
at least right now, it's the right way to go. So as long as it's working and you don't have any problems, Firebase is the best way in the backend. And
Okay.
the front end side of it, Flutter is good because it'll give you the
Okay.
web app, it'll give you the Android app, it'll also give you the iOS app,
iOS.
whatever you need,
Got
like whatever you need, right? It
Okay.
for your specification, it is good enough.
Okay. Okay. Then probably I'll bring in the a little complexity where the dilemma comes in, right?
Hmm.
Is this good enough? For example, when I think about the third, I think I captured it as in the sheet as admin console, right?
Hmm.
So here you are saying no platform required. It clearly makes it as a web app, right? If I take
Yep.
that off. So
Yep.
here the need is for an app, it looked okay to build it. Admin console is going to be a predominantly like every platform builds a admin console, right? Which is like a web and which is connected to some database, which works pretty fast and you can make update, quick to develop, right? And will the Firebase work for admin console, or would it require us to export this data into a SQL and then use some other technology to build the whole admin console? Is one question. Second,
Hmm.
does it make sense to use a no code or a low code platform like Zoho or somebody, right? Or the many is that the other option? So it's a dilemma which has created. Can we live with Firebase, build this, or should we look at some other database or a low code platform?
Okay. To answer your first question, you can definitely live with Firebase.
Okay.
You can create basically users with a certain access. You can create rules in the Firestore DB, so who can access
Mhm.
what, right? And with those users, you can basically do whatever the merchant does, or like it's completely doable with Firebase.
Okay, with Flutter as a
As a front end, right? Flutter is just the UI thing, right? It's nothing else except the components which we see. The actual
okay,
business logic happens in Firebase and the
okay,
database, right? Adding,
okay,
removing stuff. So it is
okay,
possible.
okay, okay. So okay, what you're saying is it's another Flutter interface. That UI screen, the form factor could be completely different, It's being accessed from a browser, but on the back end, the same Firebase, which is where whatever we have written, the same provider, everything can be leveraged to show whatever is required.
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay. That's interesting. I mean, not too complicated. That becomes pretty simple instead of looking at doing it. Let me give the other scenario where we would get in. For a merchant app from a consumer app, the interactions are very simple. Once he is set up, he will set up the store. A customer will come, he will discover, he will place some orders, right? The size or heaviness is not that uh, operations wise, it's simple. Now, for a merchant over a 6 months, he would have generated probably take it as a 10,000 orders, right? A lot of collections. Now the reports and insights as another feature kicks in that we show.
Mm-hmm.
Was your
Mm-hmm.
business last month? Let me
Mm-hmm.
show it graphically how your business is growing. Some deep insights, right? This is my question is this: would Firebase become a bottleneck here, either to integrate a third-party reporting analytics tool, or what are the options to build the
That.
reports and analytics for app?
Hmm. I am not 100% sure about this. I will actually do some research and get back to you. But from what I understand, it won't create any problems, right? You just give it. You should just be able to give access to whatever third-party graphical tool you're trying to use, and the database numbers, stats should be given. It's probably doable, but I'm not 100% sure. I will get back to you on this.
So you're saying whether these third-party tools, if at all we use, or some packages that we use, probably from Flutter or this, will that work with the Firebase database,
Yeah, it
which
should.
it can generate? Okay,
Yeah, it
okay.
should. Generally, it should, because Firebase is, like I said, it's pretty good and it has integrations with a lot of third-party tools.
But the query and all, I felt would be very difficult to play with the report and analytics, right? Normally, I mean, I'm just my other thoughts around this, right? Contradicting that simplicity. So, for example, we had built for the earlier company, we had tons of data from IREF, which was a product name with the mobile recharge data, right? We ended up using Power BI or something where we would dump the data,
Mm-hmm.
then
Mm-hmm.
use a big query or something, then play with it, generate a lot of analytics for business decision, show something to the merchant, something like that. We ended up exporting the data. At that time, it was connected to DynamoDB. It was a little easier to connect to a Power BI, then access through the BigQuery type. Similarly, possibilities, Firebase also provides this a way of exporting some of these into a SQL database to use it. So,
Yeah. So, go on, go on.
question is that a big limitations because the way we want to query and pull the data at a frequency at the way we want to access in a report and analytics is the Firebase as a database is a limitation question. I think you said you want to look at and probably
Yeah,
suggest whether
yeah,
it's a feasible.
yeah. I'll let me look at that.
Sure, sure. The third, and the last that challenge comes with this Firebase is suppose take it as I have as a customer, there are some 10 to 20 merchants in my neighborhood. Each I would have transacted, there is an order with every merchant over last 6 months. Now comes to the search capability. As a customer, I might come and search for a merchant. Pretty simple. I think out of 20, I can find it easily in Firebase.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it can get as complex as let me search for an order with an order ID which was placed 6 months back. I'm just giving a scenario. To
Mm-hmm.
build a search capability, will Firebase is a limitation.
Is there a limitation in Firebase for building search capabilities?
Yeah,
Right?
correct.
Hmm.
It should be fast enough, right? If I'm on a customer app, if I search for a, we expect a lot, right? In take any Amazon or a Flipkart or take it as a big basket kind of a hyper local delivery, right? I can type something, it will show the product. That's the most common. But I can search a merchant. In our case, I can search an order that I placed or a payment that I made. Could be anything. So there has to be a certain indexing capability or something helps us to pull the data quickly, right? Is
Mm-hmm.
Firebase will become a bottleneck there?
That's a good question too. So I have done, like you said, small, I mean, search in Firebase in a smaller scale, but on, like you said, on orders or from what I understand, it shouldn't be a problem. But
Okay,
again, I will look into it more deeply and let you know. But
sure, sure. I think
but
we came
for all
across
your
one.
questions so far,
Ah,
Firebase shouldn't have any
okay.
problem with any of.
That's good to hear. I think whoever has worked for a prolonged time on a Firebase and building it, right? I think it's good to hear that. Whoever hasn't tried, they always look at as a different technology. They don't use Firebase. It's a whatever the other native, right? What is the other one?
Uh, React Native.
React Native, and it's typically JavaScript, those based, and some MongoDB or MongoDB is also no SQL, but it's a very common kind of a platform. Yeah, one thing I just want to share. I think we were exploring Algolia, which is the search capability built within Firebase as a tool. So
Can you come again? Algolia.
Algolia, it's tools which is available for Flutter development with Firebase. Not from Flutter, it's a Firebase.
Mhm.
Sit, am I spelling?
I think I got it. Algolia.com. Yeah, search.
It's a Firebase extension. It does that fuzzy search or indexing fast. You have to just tell, maybe we'll have to buy for a certain price, but I heard it supports a quick, as long as it's indexed every data. We're looking at that,
Interesting.
but we haven't done anything, but we haven't made a decision. So only what we decided, and already kind of a 20-30% into building the app ecosystem is using Flutter with Firebase as of today. But the question mark when I was talking to Karthik were all this: is it the right decision, or should we look at other alternatives? That's when he shared the sheet. Then now I understand what you meant by those couple of questions, which was forcing me to arrive at a no conclusion. That's
Because,
good.
because that is what you need. Like,
Yeah, yeah. Good. Yeah, these were the things which I wanted to just get some thoughts. Right.
yeah.
Reports, in fact, uh, we thought
So,
of using some
one
third
quick
party.
question: Do
Sure.
you have any ideas or what third-party tools you are going to use, or like, for example, to generate your graphical interface or whatever? Like, is there any tools or anything you have in mind so that I
Okay.
can check how compatible it is with Fabric?
So we are very open with any tool that helps to build the graphical representation, and we don't need very complex. We haven't decided anything should work, right? It's a sales of last month. If I want to show it in a pie chart or sorry, a pillar kind of a what I'm trying to say is a very simple UI representation is good enough. It's not a Nasdaq or any complex stock technical analysis type. That's the far end. This is a very simple, right? We haven't even shortlisted any. Our queries were to decide the flexibility to do a very complex queries to pull the data.
Right.
So does that call for exporting into a SQL and then do whatever you want? Is where we were debating what is the right technology to use. Is it to
Yeah,
kind
makes
of
sense.
dump it to some SQL, then use a BigQuery, right? Which I mean, is that the method? Is that what we were debating? So
I think that is how we did it. In actually, let me get back to you on this.
okay, sure, sure. Yeah, that's all
And
I had in my mind.
okay, and one more thing, you said you wanted the data to be offline for your merchants, right?
Correct, correct.
Merchant app. Yeah, that is also possible in Flutter. But
Correct. I mean, that's one of the biggest advantage using with the Firebase because it takes care of syncing without we doing anything, right? Not even having a light SQL or nothing is required. I mean, it does it, but we need to see the data limit on the app side. I think they have a 100 MB or something limit, right? It can't be like I can build an app where I want to download so much data.
yeah, of
It may
course,
not.
that will be a bad experience
Yeah, yeah.
if you download like literally the entire DB on the phone.
Yeah, yeah.
Is all his orders, all his like that's not a very good way of doing it. Like we have to come up with what is relevant, what is most relevant for him when he's offline, and like yeah, and some amount of data can be put offline.
But otherwise, the data would be sitting on a cloud, the Firestore on the Google Cloud. But when
Mhm.
we started, I think we had to set certain criteria to pull only so much, right?
When you start it as in
When I start a merchant app, it's not necessary that all last 1 year's data. I mean, we need to create a subset when he first time signs in, when he again comes online.
hmm
We need to decide how much data we want to pull it from the Firestore, right?
right, yeah,
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty much I had in mind to kind of validate a certain decision very specific to our where we need a different kind of app requirement, admin console to a consumer to a merchant. And because of the team size, because we want to get something out to market quickly, uh, we decided Flutter because we can't invest in multiple teams for a different technology to build it. And
uh-huh.
second, even a raw doesn't matter. Even if you have to make a big change later for a scale, it's okay. As long as I can take something and give it in the hands of a merchant to see whatever we thought he will use it, he will get benefited. We want to validate that. May not be a fancy look and feel, may not be a high performance or anything, but really start using our application, right? That's what we
Makes
want
sense.
to validate.
Yeah, actually, as I'm recalling, so when I was working with Karthik, I think we used Firebase for analytics, and I think we had to kind of export it into BigQuery then.
Okay.
Like this was a couple of years ago, like 3 years
Okay.
ago. I don't know if that has changed lately, but I'll let you know.
Yeah, I think that would help. That will take care of the report and analytics part, that mode. Search seems like we don't need a very deep search. Algolia or kind of extension might help us do that. And admin console was a new insight for me from this discussion that it the same simple screen put into Flutter, which is for a web, can be developed as a just by a same Flutter developer
Yes,
leveraging the same API, just that you have access to multiple merchant, whereas as a merchant app, you are accessing only a merchant related data. That's the only difference.
right. Yes.
That's a good way to put it. I mean, that's something we can quickly test it out. We always think app is a Flutter, but a website is a it's like a web page is always some other technology type, right?
No, that app.
Yeah, correct.
Everything is an app right now.
Correct. See, that
Website,
leaves
mobile.
us, this is the product side, right? Then we always have a marketing effort, which is a landing page, which is
Mm.
like a pretty much a static page where we keep changing the content to test different value proposition and all. There will be one sign in button for a customer landing page. There will be a download and test link on a merchant landing pages, which is a
I
pure
did check out
HTML.
your. Yeah, I know. I checked out your apps as well.
Actually, if you
Actually,
haven't exposed those pages, it's hidden. If you put in
ah,
zopnode.com/merchant slash will take you to
oh,
the
okay,
new. We
got it.
haven't. We thought of living with that also, and few people suggested even that page can be maintained in a Flutter
Yeah, it can. It could be made it.
because the changes you can make in the resources so that it pulls it and shows it if you want to play with the. We haven't tried. I mean, we were okay to even connect a simple JavaScript or some function to do it. Yeah,
But
but
Flutter
however,
can do it.
yeah, a couple of things I want to mention. I think these are right. If you wanted to secure the Firebase database, right? It's not for that. What we do is a OTP. When we validate, we still have one server-side function which returns the key to access the file store. Only a validated session will give access to that. Then only the whole app works. So we make one server side which returns the return token to do it. So
Mm-hmm.
we wanted to keep that instead of every data starts accessing. That's one we something we did the current design.
Ah, that's a good one.
That's
So
all
you want?
I had.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, summaries. I think fair. I think couple of areas which you said you wanted to check the alternatives for connecting report, and we can always connect some other time.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I will. I will
Okay.
ping you.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Good discussion.
No worries.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.